Oh, you missed my beginning. That was the best. The best
Sorry, I
part.
forgot that.
That's all right. That's all right. But I'm a real relationship driven guy. I build a strong culture. I'm here to help these young women grow up. It's a family thing for me. My wife don't tell her, but she was a way better athlete than I was an All-American soccer player and actually had professional opportunities to play soccer. So I'm very fortunate. I always tell people she's my best recruit by far ever. And so we make this a family deal, and we really work hard at welcoming the young women, helping them grow, helping them change. I think the biggest thing that I try to do is, you guys will remember and women here that I actually have a few balls in my office, one signed by Bobby Knight and one signed by Pat Summit. There's a few others up here too, but their style of coaching, in my opinion, doesn't work anymore. They were great coaches and unbelievable coaches, and I got to spend time about both of them actually. But the dictator style, this doesn't resonate with the young people today. So we really work hard at developing relationships so that I can coach them hard. Because in order to be successful, you got to be able to coach them hard and teach them. I consider myself a teacher, no question. And so, yeah, we're going to have a great culture here where we produce great student athletes that care about getting their degree and then want to win games, without a doubt. And that's my job. So, since I've been here, a couple things that I've worked really hard on is the first thing is I know, you guys have extensive experience, but you surround yourself with good people, right? So I worked really, really hard at hiring a great staff. And my first staff member that I got to hire was Jordan Sullivan, obviously well known here in the community, played for the Lady Griz, is Robin Selvig's niece. But beyond that, she is about as smart, as talented a young woman as you can meet. I mean, she came here to go to law school. 3 weeks into law school, she decided to, which I still tell her, I'm like, what were you thinking? But hey, everybody's got their passions. She quit to join the staff here at the University of Montana. And so 5 years later, I'm just fortunate. She was my first hire. It was an easy one. My wife and I, we took her out to dinner right after I got hired, and my wife leaves the restaurant and goes, "If you don't hire her, you're an idiot." So one thing I know for sure is I listen to my wife because she's a lot smarter than I am. But so we're just really fortunate to have her. There's nothing like being able to talk to recruits when you've experienced what this program's about, especially during the successful times that it's had. So, I mean, Jordan is as talented as it gets. And then Nate Harris was my next hire. He, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but from Ronan, so nice and close here. Also born and raised in Montana, as well as Jordan, who was over in Sydney. But Nate was a head coach at the time down in Texas at a Division II school. And so there's nothing like having somebody on your bench that's been in your seat, that's experienced what you experience on a daily basis and the things you got to deal with. And so he's a really talented coach. Never really competed against him. He also was on the other side of the state of the school we don't talk about too much around here, but he was there during a time where they kind of really made some strides, won 2 conference titles over there. And so, yeah, just really valuable. He's also a dad of 4 girls. Lord help him. He has 4 young daughters. And so nothing like being a dad and understanding what that means to when you coach young women. There really isn't in that way. The last hire, very few of you probably know her, but Jocelyn Tinkle, Wayne Tinkle's daughter, who's here for many years. Hi there. And so Jocelyn was a great player, obviously here in Missoula. Here in Missoula for many years, one of the better players in state history, without a doubt, and went on to play at Stanford, of course, and played for Tara Vanderveer, who I know well. Tried to beat her many times over the years. It's not the easiest thing to do, but she was out of coaching. She had played professionally for a while, and her dad and I, who Wayne is just going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. here at the University of Montana here at the end of October, which is pretty exciting because we've given him a hard time over the years that Lisa, his wife, has been in the Hall of Fame a lot longer than him. So it's about time. But what a great family. I got to know them really well being at Oregon State, and just a fantastic family. And so her dad and I both try to talk her out of coaching. We try to tell her, don't do it. She didn't listen. So she's here in her first coaching job, and I'm thrilled to have her. She is just dynamic she's amazing person, and just really dynamic with people, really good at connecting with young people, connecting with anybody and everybody, and obviously a talented basketball player. So she's been thrown into the fire since June and is doing great. So, I'm not the smartest guy, but I know that if you surround yourself with good people, you're ahead of the game. And so those three are about as good as it gets. I'm thankful for them. They've been working like crazy. And they're all Montana born, all three of them. And I know how important that is. It's important to me. To give you a little background of me too, my dad was born in Lewistown. I have an aunt and uncle in Billings. My grandfather, Irving, he taught and coached in small towns all across Montana for 23 years. So I have roots as well in Montana. Before I went to Washington State, I was the head coach at Montana Tech, the good old Ore Diggers in Butte. And so I have quite a bit of experience in Montana, and that was another draw for me, just that I've had family here, and I know how special a place it is. So that was the main thing. And then we've just been recruiting. We have been recruiting like crazy. And I can't tell you too much about the recruits because it's illegal, but our staff has done an unbelievable job in that way. Because one of the things that Rob confused everybody about is that he was a great coach, but really he was just a great recruiter because he had great players. Some of the players he had here over his career, and I give him a hard time. I'm like, you have all these people convinced that you were such a good coach, but really it was all these players you had. Anybody could have coached the players he had. Are you kidding? And so he always laughs when I tell him that, but he had some great players. So I the secret to having great teams is to get great kids, great from a character perspective, as well as a talent perspective. And so we worked really hard on that. As far as the team this summer, we got about 8 weeks this summer with them, and just developing them as players, really working on team chemistry, building trust. The more they trust me, the harder I can coach them, which is kind of what I already talked about. And so we've worked hard at really encouraging them. They've had 3 coaches in 3 years, and that's not easy on anybody. That's a hard thing. And so my goal was just as a staff, we were there to teach. I'm not a big yeller and screamer. I want to teach them. I believe that basketball is no different than maybe chemistry, right? Like, I'll have a desk in the practice gym. I'm going to teach the kids how to play. If they're not doing something, usually it's because we haven't taught them well, or they're not understanding what they should do. And so we work hard at teaching the right way and explaining things and helping them understand what we want to accomplish. And so that's really what we developed this summer. From a culture perspective, I'm a big believer in team first. You got to be unselfish. And so we talked a lot about that, and there's different ways that looks. And so we had some neat things. I'll tell you another quick story. I want to leave it some time for some questions, because I know you guys got lots of questions, and I could talk the whole time. No problem. Trust me. But I know you guys probably have some good questions. One cool story is we worked really hard. I met with some of the girls, and one of the girls, Sophia Stiles, right? If you ever come to the game, Sophia's from Malta. She's a quick athletic guard. I met with all the players here when I first got the job. One of the things that she told me was that she really wanted to be a leader. And so I know as a leader, you have to do a couple things. You have to be consistent. Consistency, I think, is an underrated thing as far as leadership. Consistent in your effort, consistent in your work ethic, understanding that every day you got to go hard. You got to be the example. You got to set the standard in that. And then the other thing would be just consistently giving, constantly giving to your teammates, understanding that, you showing and serving others on the team they will follow you. And so throughout the summer with her, I just kind of gave her tips, right? How do you do that? How do you lead? How do you really, how do you become a leader? And so throughout the year, you know, I've just encouraged her, hey, consistent work ethic. She did an unbelievable job of just working hard every day. Every day she was an example. She set the tone. She was amazing. And then just little things like when the freshmen got here and they were working out, the freshmen, I was like, hey, why don't you go be with the freshmen today? Go with one of the freshmen every day. Go encourage them. Go over there and be with them. Don't just go with your buddy every day. And so she did a great job of that. And it was pretty cool because at the end of the summer, after 8 weeks, Carmen G. Feller, who's also a great player, we do these spotlights every day in practice, not every day, most days in practice where we kind of, it's important to hear the good things, right? As a coach, I'm always telling them the things they do wrong, of course. And so it's important to always hear the things you do right. And so we do these spotlights. And the second to last day at the end of the summer, Carmen looked at Soph and said, hey, I just want you to know what you've done this summer as a leader and as an encourager to us is just, it's been noticed. And it was pretty cool because she started crying. And if you know Soph is not a crier. She's a tough kid from Malta, not necessarily she has thick skin is what we want to call it. And so she started crying. And so it was pretty cool because afterwards she, you know, I put my arm around her and she's like, Coach, you did it. And I said, no. You did it. You sacrificed every day. You were consistent. You were encouraging. You were the one serving others on our team. And so that is leadership. And so pretty cool, right? To be able to see a kid want to do something and see it kind of progress. And it's a progression. I told her that this is not a, okay, you got it kind of thing. It's a daily thing. It's a process oriented thing to be a leader. And so she's done a great job. But I just want to tell you that story because it's neat to see how culture develops within a team, right? The things that are important to me start to develop within the team. And that's when you become a good team. It's the greatest thing, in my opinion, about team sports and basketball in particular. I tell them all the time, like, if you want to go be an individual, go play tennis, go play golf, go do something like that. Go do that. This is a team game. And we're better when we all understand each other, encourage each other, create a better team in that way. So that was one story. I'll tell you one other story. The next story is, and this is kind of you guys will know this, but we had our first team meeting and we sit down and I kind of lay out some of the things that we're talking to you. They've already heard all these things, but I asked them, I was like, do you want to win the Big Sky Conference Championship? And of course, what would they say? Yeah, of course. Everybody wants to win. And so we go through and we talk about, okay, what's it going to take to win? What's it going to take to win? And then I share a little bit of the history of this program, which very few of them, which is interesting, right? The history of this program, 24 conference titles, 21 NCAA tournament appearances, 14 conference MVPs. We've won 24 conference titles. The next closest in the conference is 3. So the dominance of this program over the years is obviously tremendous, right? 24-3. The next closest is 3 conference titles. It's not even close. Many of them didn't know those kinds of things. And then I said, okay, so we want to win the conference title. So what do we need to do? And they're like, well, I don't know, play good or play defense or whatever. And I said, yes, but do you want to know what all 24 of those teams did? And they're like, oh my gosh, what did they do? And so I'm a big PowerPoint guy. So I like PowerPoints. I like presentations. And I think it just sticks a little bit better because I'm a teacher, right? And so the next slide says, run to the M. And so all 24 of those teams that won conference titles, they all ran to the M. And so I was like, so if we want to win the conference title, which you all said you wanted to, and that's important to you, why wouldn't we run to the M? And so then they all kind of rolled their eyes, of course, because nobody really wants to run to the M. But I'm like, it makes sense to me, right? I'm a logical guy. If you want to win the conference title, 24 teams did it. 24 teams ran to the M. Let's run to the M. So we got up on the next, a few mornings later and we ran to the M. And it was hard. But to me, that's more about your toughness, your competitiveness, and those things lead to winning, in my opinion, toughness and competitiveness. And so they did a great job, and it was never as bad as they thought it was, of course. But yeah, although I will tell you, we have a girl from Griz here, and the girl from Griz told me that it was the worst thing she's ever done in her life. So I don't know. She survived, though. She definitely survived. We actually walked up it the other day, and she's like, oh, this is not as bad as I thought, because she ran up it the first time. But anyways, I don't want to talk forever. I'm excited to be here. we're going to turn this into something very special that impacts these young women and that the community is proud of. My goal always is to give them the best experience of their lives. I tell every kid that comes into my office that I recruit or that I coach that my goal is that on senior night, when you're a senior and you walk out with a jersey in your hand and there's 5,000 people or whatever in the stands, that you're in tears because you're sad that it's over. That's how good of experience I want to give them. That's my goal. I work toward that every day. And I'm thankful to be sitting in this seat and be here. So it's a proud program, and I'm excited to be the leader of it. So any questions? Because I chatted for a while. Anything that you guys want to know, ask away.
Gary, Brian, I should, in case you don't know Gary was involved in the athletic department for I don't know how long there at the university. So
Awesome.
Didn't want to blindside you.
No, that's okay. That's
Okay,
all right.
Gary,
Hey,
go ahead.
yeah, please. I love anybody. I hope you guys come introduce yourselves. Everybody come introduce yourselves. I love to meet everybody.
Good morning, Brian.
Morning.
Thanks for being with us. And like you, I can't wait to shake your hand.
Yeah.
I've been watching basketball in Adams Center since 1961, 60 years. Grew up with the Lady Griz from the early 70s on. I'm born and raised in Montana. And your philosophy on how you can recruit your top women players so they don't leave the state. And of course, the Tinkle Gals are an example.
Sure.
And of course, in kind of a double question, I know you can't win it all with in-the-state players. So your philosophy on recruiting out of state, regional, national.
Good question. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if I could go down the street to Sentinel and Hellgate and Big Sky High School and recruit my whole team, of course I would. Why wouldn't I? I would never have to leave home. I could just be in my car and I'd never have to get an airplane. That would be great. I would love that. Maybe an occasional trip to Kalispell. Perfect. Right. Maybe to Billings. I would love that. That would be the easiest way to do things. And I'm committed 100% to any kid. It's very, very basic. Any kid that can help us win the Big Sky Conference title and do things here that we haven't done, I'm all for them. And that encompasses two things. Number one, it encompasses talent. They have to have the talent. And I'll be honest, there's just not as many as there used to be for two reasons. Number one, social media has changed the landscape of college athletics as far as access. So the internet in general, people know more about other places and things. The world has shrunk because of the internet and social media. Everything has shrunk. And so everybody knows more about other places. Back when Rob was recruiting, even Jordan Sullivan, Jordan barely knew anything about any other places outside of Montana. She knew nothing else. And so nowadays kids know of everything because of social media and because it's just, you have access to understanding more things. So that has caused some things as some kids are more willing to go because they know more. There's not as much of a fear factor involved in that. People don't necessarily stay close to home as much as they used to. And that's in every place around the country. That's just not here. And so that's become a factor. I will tell you this, I will never sacrifice character for talent. I just won't. I've been in programs that it sacrificed character for talent. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work with me. I don't want to coach kids that are knuckleheads. I want to call them. I don't want to do it. And so I've been in a program at Oregon State where we were one of the best teams in the country. I think they're ranked in the top 15 or 10 this year. And I've seen it done where you can have high character, great kids that are talented. And so I will never do that. So I will tell you, if there are kids in Montana that are talented enough to play here and help us, but don't fit that, I'm not recruiting them. Because that just doesn't help my culture. That doesn't mold them into the team that I want here. And ultimately, that doesn't help you win championships. And I know over the years, Robin had some kids that were difficult. He's told me, and he was like, if I could do it again, I wouldn't have them, right? I just wouldn't, because it takes away from the team. It takes away from what you're trying to create. And so, for me, 100%, if I can find the right kids with the talent to win the Big Sky with high character that come from great families and they're down the road, I want them. And there's tons of factors that are involved in that, of course, depth charts and different things that a lot of people don't always know. Kids are way more well-informed nowadays than they ever have been. And so they know what the depth chart, if I have 3 post players and there's a post player at Sentinel that looks at my roster and is like, well, I'm going to be sitting behind those posts, but it just doesn't make sense all the time for them. And they want different things. So without a doubt, we will start from here and work our way out in recruiting. But those are the things I'm looking for with mostly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good question.
Bill?
Yes, well, thank you for being here and welcome to Montana. I moved here 5 years ago from Colorado.
Oh,
And I would just reaffirm what you have said about in-state students. Coming from Colorado and also living in Kansas, those 2 states never produced enough basketball players to supply University of Colorado Boulder, CSU, K-State, or KU. So they've all had to go out of state to recruit quality players. My question to you is, what kind of defense are you going to run? And are we going to see any pressing this year?
A good one. That's defense is what I'm really known for. It's what I've been. It's the only way to win championships. You can't not defend, in my opinion. So defense will be a staple of what we do. And I will tell you what I really like to do versus what we may do are maybe 2 different things. This team is some I've inherited, a few I've brought. As we recruit, it may be different. I tend to play man-to-man more than anything. Use zone when I need to. That may not be the case as we go forward and I see these kids play man-to-man and how they've learned. We have 5 seniors, right? So at some point you got to do the most simple thing with 5 seniors when everything's new, just to be the most successful. So we'll see. Will we press the whole game? No, I think you can't win at the highest level doing that. The best teams will shred presses. In my personal opinion, you never see the best teams. And I've played in the Final Four, I've played in the Elite 8, I've been to the Sweet 16, and those teams, they don't press, right? They tend to play. Occasionally they'll pressure. We'll throw in some traps. We'll throw in some things like that to throw people off and be aggressive. But I like to be in rebounding position. And so the more the person with the ball gets beyond you, the less you are in rebounding position. So I want to be a great rebounding team, keep everything in front the best we can, contest, make people miss shots, and then occasionally pressure and occasionally throw things in. Will we press some? Without a doubt. Will we press every possession? No. There's college players are too good. Girls have gotten way too good at handling the ball to press the whole game. They'll shred you at this point, and I don't like to be shredded. I like to stop people. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to be defensive oriented without a doubt, but I tend to be more of a scout-based defense. So we're going to understand who we're playing. I want to force, if I'm guarding you, I want you to have to play in your C game. You're not going to get to do your A thing. You're not going to get to do your B thing. You're going to have to play in your C game all game long. And so we're going to force you to be uncomfortable in that way. Hopefully that answered. If you have other follow-up questions, that's good too.
Any other questions? Gary?
Yeah, you got me here.
If no one else has one.
Yeah.
Brian, I love to see a freshman-based program where you develop the players and we have them all 4 years versus a transfer. And I know you have a few transfers and you have to supplement to fill holes. Your philosophy on the Montana or the freshman-based versus transfers?
Yeah, I hate transfers. I mean, that's the facts. I don't like it. I don't want them. They're necessary at times because of the culture that we're in now. I have one transfer, by the way, just one.
Oh,
and I knew her from way back. So I have one transfer. Will we have transfers? Yes. Will they be the people that I've recruited already? Yes. I just don't, they go into the transfer portal for a reason typically. And it's not always the coach. Sometimes most of the time it's something to do with them. And so I don't love it. I will say, you know, I mean, I recruited a lot of kids over the years that play in the Pac-12 and at top schools around the country. And if, you know, of course, if I get calls from, or we call and somebody I know like that, yeah, I tell people all the time, like, hopefully Scott Ruick at Oregon State treats them really bad, so they all want to transfer here and we'll be pretty good. Now that's different that I recruited them. If I'm just looking into the transfer portal just randomly all the time, I'm not into that. I think it's another way. It's the same thing. Like I recruit character. And so a lot of times there are things that are wrong with kids in that portal. And so it just scares me. I like to recruit kids for a long period of time, which is why this year I brought in 3 kids, 1 transfer and 2 kids from overseas, because I don't trust it. One of the girls I recruited at Oregon State, actually both of them I recruited at Oregon State, so I knew them. And so I want to have kids that I know, and over, you know, the girls that we're recruiting now, we've recruited since I got here, and the ones for the next class, I'll be recruiting for a year or 2. Then you get to know them. In the transfer portal, it's like a 2-week process. You see them in there, you talk to them for 2 weeks, they come visit. You can miss a lot of things when it's a 2-week process. And so that would be my general philosophy. Will we have a few? I'm sure we will, but I tend to want to avoid it if I can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. You guys are easy.
Bill?
We talked about defense. Let's talk about offense. Do you guys like to run, or what kind of offensive patterns do you run?
Yeah. I like to put the players in position to be successful no matter what that is. And so that's different every year depending on the players. Ultimately, I'd love to have 4 really good shooters and 1 really dominant post and just play 4 out and, you know, throw it inside and let her score over and over and over at layups. And if you want to double, then we'll kick it out and shoot a 3 and take 3 points. That's the simplified version of it. Right now with the team we have, probably not the case. And so with this team, I'm leaning toward, this is the inside scoop. Don't be going to the papers with this stuff. No, but I'm leaning toward playing faster. I think this team in general will play fast, and we need to play fast in order to be our best. And so, yeah, I'd like to play as fast as possible, but I want to take great shots. I'm very much into efficiency. I don't want to take bad shots. I want to take good shots because I know, like, basketball is not rocket science, right? If you take good shots, you make them. If you take bad shots, you typically miss. And then your percentages go up, you typically get to win. If your percentages go down, you typically get to lose. So I want to win. And so I'm a really big, I have an efficiency system as far as I rate shots. And so 4s are layups, free throws, and kick out 3s, right? So everybody practices with a shooting machine these days, where the shooting machine is kicking out balls to you and it kicks it out from the paint. Well, so those are the ones you practice. So those are the shots I want to get, right? And so layups, kick out 3s, and free throws are really what we want. We work hard, whatever we run, to get those shots. Not that I'm against the mid-range shot. I'm not against it by any means. I just know that those are the highest percentage shots based upon years of experience. And so then I'll put them in position to get those shots. We will run some sets to try to put each player in there. We're actually going to have a meeting here with my staff in a little bit to talk about what we feel like are our players' greatest strengths. I'm really big on putting players in their greatest strengths, right? Of course, working on weaknesses, but putting in the strengths. What are they good at? Well, let's put them in those spots where they're good at those things. So that, number one, it builds their confidence, which confidence is a real fragile thing. And so building their confidence is always good. So yeah, we'll play fast. We'll use sets and put people in position to be successful. But ultimately, I'd love to just sit back and just watch people play 4 out and a little bit of motion stuff and throw the ball inside and have a dominant post player, which, you know, we probably don't have yet, but we're recruiting. Good question. Good question. How many people on here come to the games? That's a better question. Quite a few. Well, then we got to get everybody coming to the games and yelling at the refs. Don't yell at me. Yell at the refs really loud. Make them angry. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I hope you guys come. Please come.
Gary?
Brian, I think, well, my thought is your non-conference schedule, if you have some great competition, builds a fan base to get ready for conference competition. What's your philosophy? And I know it's hard to recruit teams into Montana, but your philosophy or your process to get some great teams on the floor at Athletic Center.
Yeah, you know, we will. We'll be able to. I have great relationships with a lot of people in the Pac-12. Obviously, I was there for a long time. So those teams will come play. I don't know if I want to play them yet. I want to be competitive. But, you know, yeah, the schedule this year was pretty much done when I got here. And so we're working on the next year. I will tell you, I did get a game, which will be a great game to come to. Gonzaga will play here. Our non-conference schedule has not been released yet, but Gonzaga is an obvious one. It's a great regional opponent that's been very successful. I don't see any reason why we can't beat them over the years. So let's go play them, right? So they're coming here early in the season, which is great. That'll be a fun game. They're usually in the top 25-ish, right around there. So that'll be fun. For sure, I think it's a balance. Having too many good teams can really destroy your confidence real fast, but having a good balance of good and good teams and teams that you can necessarily, if you play well, can beat. So it's a balance, but we will have, you know, again, as we get better, people won't want to come here. So it'll be harder and harder for sure to get teams to come, but we already had some of that. I had a good team, another good team that I thought I had here, and you know, that we got a couple of transfers and not a couple of transfers. We signed a couple of kids and they kind of slithered their way out of it. So we've already experienced some of that. Yeah, but we'll work hard to get good games here because it's fun and we get a crowd, and why not?
Any other questions? Gary, go ahead.
If no one else does,
Yeah,
Keep them
Brian,
coming. I think everybody likes hearing the answers to your questions, so that's okay.
so this might be a loaded question.
Yeah.
When you and Ken Haslam, you were hired, and you and Ken Haslam are visiting.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a thought that you'd maybe go away from Lady Griz versus Grizzlies, because so many coaches across America say we're not Lady Cats, we're Bobcats. We're not. Your thought there, did that come up? Did you have thoughts about that?
No. I'm a real, you know, I am a believer in what works, don't change it. Like things like it seemed to work for Robin. And so I'm like, you know, it's just like, I don't really understand why you wouldn't want Robin Selvig here as much as possible, analyzing things and telling me things I'm doing wrong. And I've been coaching long enough to know that I don't know it very much, right? Like I know that I need as much help as possible. And so I think it's two things. Number one, I think it's, if people have an issue with it, then don't come here. I'm like, fine. I don't, you know, I think more people like it than the fact that we have our own moniker, right? Like we have our own little brand, so to speak. And I think there's been a great reception to that as far as recruiting. I don't know. It's just, yeah. And you can go down a rabbit hole with this, but I believe in the past and the tradition that's been established. This is a legendary program. You know, the Lady Vols aren't changing. They're going to be the Lady Vols. So I'm like, why would we change? It's kind of the same thing. It's I want success here, and I want to honor the past, and that to me, changing that would not honor the past, and I'm all about honoring it. So
thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Jack, are you about to ask a question?
You know, it all centers around recruiting kinds of things, and to me, I want to ask about your staff and some of the recruiting that they've been doing, or you've gotten them involved in. They seem like they are a pretty magnetic kind of crew too, that I would hope that I don't want you to rate them, but just how you feel about how that recruiting is going with your staff.
Really good. And I mean, so again, and I kind of started saying this earlier, but my whole goal here was to, and I'll give you an example, was to surround myself with the best people possible. And they are, I'm just telling you, we've had people come on campus and like, your staff is unbelievable. They're personable, they're genuine, they're experienced. You know, both the girls played professional. We've all played in college. We all have that kind of vast thing. We all have different experiences. And so my goal first was to make sure that they got along. They don't always have to like me, but they really connect in a great way. And so anytime you have that kind of cohesion within a staff, that transfers over into your team and into recruiting as well. When you're on the same page, when you're all fighting for the same things, they know me as a person, they know what I want, and they believe in what I want as for this program and the kind of kids we want here. And so with that, they're so different. So Jordan was here, so she can speak about, you know, the conference titles she won. She can speak on what the crowd looks like. She can speak on everything about Lady Griz basketball better than any of us. Jocelyn Tinkle, which I know everybody was mad when she left, but you know, I'll tell you what, she had a different kind of experience, right? I wanted somebody with a different kind of experience. She had an experience with a Hall of Fame coach, went to 3 Final Fours, and that experience is invaluable in recruiting and to our own team. She experienced a totally different way of doing things where she left and now she's back. She's happy to be back. Trust me, thrilled. And then you have Nate, who was on the other side of the state with this team that we need to beat, who's going to help me beat them and has been a head coach. So they come from all different things in all different places, and they really just work well. They're honestly like brothers and sisters, the 3 of them. It cracks me up, but that energy and that cohesion rubs off on everything in your program, everything. And I will tell you this, surround yourself with great people. Like we have a position right now that isn't filled. We have a director of operations position that I haven't filled. And so I don't hire a position just to hire a position. It's going to put a little bit more on us as a staff this year, but I'm like, I want somebody in every position that fits a purpose and is really adds to the team. I didn't find that. And so I'm not going to I'm not going to just put somebody to put somebody. I'm just not going to do that. I know that's detrimental to any organization. Number one, I don't care what you're doing. And so it is crucial. We've had unbelievable, they've gotten, you know, we've had people this time of year, you guys probably don't know this, but in coaching, we tend to go out, right? And go out and visit open gyms. You don't get to talk to the players. You just go and you watch and you show your, you know, Lady Griz basketball, whatever, sit there on the sidelines. You get to talk to the coach, but you can't talk to the player. Our staff has done an unbelievable job of getting our top 2023 recruits, which is the next year, here on campus. They've been here. Our top 3 of our top 4 recruits have been here in Missoula already. On their own dime, right? So they pay to come. We don't even get to pay for them to come. They've come on their own. And then now we get to talk to them. We get to show them our culture. We get to, you know, do a lot of different things. That's invaluable. And so that's hard to do. That's ultimately what you'd rather stay here and have people come to you than you go to them. It's always better. And our staff's done an unbelievable job of that. We got one more. So I put the pressure on them. We have one, the last one needs to get here. She's a post player too. So I'm like, we got to get her here on campus. But they've done a great job. They're really good. I'm just telling you, I mean, I've been a part of staffs for 20 some years, 22, 23 years. And I wouldn't trade them for anybody. I wouldn't. I'm fending off people from trying to take them away. I'm constantly like, gosh. So make sure you donate too. Make sure you donate to the Hoop Club. That's coming out so I can keep my staff here. But hopefully that answers your question. If you want any follow up to that, yeah, it's the lifeblood of the program because we work hard at recruiting.
I should know this too, but is your roster filled out for this year? Do you have any open? I thought you were.
Yeah, we do have open spot. No, it's a good question. We do have 2 open scholarships. I tend to leave. 15 players is too many. I don't know if you guys know this. The women, we have 15 scholarships. The men have 13 or 12. 12 or 13, I can't remember, 12, I think. And so, but that's 15's too many. It's just too many. You can't keep that many players happy. You can't. I would love to have 12 players, 2 at each hoop. There's 6 baskets in the thing. We'd get a lot accomplished. 12 is ultimate. We unfortunately there's this thing called injuries that occur, and so 12 is 12. I tend to carry like 13ish. We're at 13 right now, but you always want to have a couple available, in my opinion. I don't know, with transfers, and they've made transfers so easy, you just can't play everybody when you have 15 players. It's really hard. So I want to try to keep everybody as happy as possible, so then it makes it easier for everybody.
Okay, Brian, well, thank you very much for joining us. I think
Yeah.
sounds like everyone's pretty enthused.
Yeah, come to games, please. And seriously, I'm dead serious. Come on down, come say hi to me, come introduce yourself so I can shake your actual hand. That's a much better way of meeting you. And sorry if I forget names, because I might, but I love to meet you in person, without a doubt. And we have practices that are open every once in a while too. Come to a practice. You're welcome to come. I don't know how I'd get that to people, but we advertise that practices. It's fun to come watch the team practice sometimes more than the game. You get a sense for what's going on. But if you do join the hoop club, you got lots of access, because we do pregame chalk talks, and we do a lot of different things that are kind of fun, because then it gives you insight into why we're playing. And so, yeah, I haven't totally got that all connected, but it's always on the website once we do. So thanks for having me, taking time. I love to see everybody. And yeah, we're excited about Lady Griz basketball. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, guys, enjoy.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, next week, just so that everybody knows, we're going to have Bill Lawrence's daughter, Adria. She's the head of the Department of Education at UM. That's also going to be via Zoom. And we're going to be via Zoom probably, as I said earlier, for 5 to 6 weeks until the country club can get themselves reorganized. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next week, and I'll send out the link on Monday. Take care.
Thank you, Jim.